One of the things we looked at was our NAPLAN results, and we also had a look at the effect that our ESL impact of children in our class had. And what prompted us to review spelling was we discovered that our children were doing quite well in spelling tests, but when it comes to application, in particular writing, their spelling was lacking. And we also found as well that we've been introducing other programs, like we've done First Steps and we've done Reading to Learn, and we felt we needed to coordinate something to try and make sure that spelling was more practical rather than just teaching spelling lists. One of the first things we did is we knew we had to review what we were doing in the past, and put simply, we were teaching spelling from a textbook. And then we spent a fair bit of time and effort on staff meetings. We devoted a lot of our professional development staff meetings to spelling, so teachers were fully in-serviced in it. We also used some of our school renewal funding for planning each term. So part of the planning during the day was to look at how we were teaching spelling and how we were applying spelling. The first key learning we had to approach it was the fact that spelling is a fact of everyday life. And one of the things we wanted to make sure was that the children knew how to use spelling in a practical sense. If I use the example when we spoke to the parents, I said, I haven't done a spelling test since 1981, but I use spelling every day. So that was the first thing that came through with the learnings. Probably the other thing was too, we actually learned how our language is formed. One of the key things was this was the whole new approach towards spelling. So a lot of the parents had their approach to spelling was similar to what happened in the past. So one of the key things we had to do was re-educate parents and the fact that we were teaching spelling skills, not spelling lists. And one of the best things we did is we had 2 parent sessions, one in the morning for those who could work in the morning and one in the afternoon. And they were really well accepted.
We are focusing more on introducing the letters and sounds in prep, in context, and also planning to do lots of oral language to support it. So lots of reading of good books, good literature. I think I've also realised too that not just using the big books, that finding really good text stories that are news stories that have the letters and sounds in them in a number of ways.
I think teachers as a whole are always looking for better ways to teach children how to spell. And as an early years teacher, I've realised the importance of increasing the vocabulary of, for the students in my class. And a way that I've found to do that is through shared reading. And how I've done it is 3 to 4 times a week, I choose a story for enjoyment to read with my class.
Another Franklin book. It's different from the one we read last week. This one is called Franklin is Messy. At the book, and I found some really tricky words for us to have a look at today. So the first word we're going to have a look at is this one here. Put your hand up if you've ever heard the word muttered before.
I've heard it, but I don't know what it
Okay. Put your hand up if you think you might know what it might mean. Lachlan, what do you think?
means.
What do you think?
There's a big mess on the floor and you've got to, and you want to make some more mess.
So before reading the text, I choose 3 or 4 words out of the text that the children may not have heard before. We have a look at those words. I write them on big cards so that we can really study what the words look like, what they might mean. There's lots of discussion about the words. We even look at how throughout the reading of the story, the children are more focused and attentive because they're listening for when those words might come up throughout the story. And I've found the experience of shared reading to be much more enjoyable for both the children and myself because it's actually got a purpose apart from the enjoyment.
Well, we found that the children in our Year 4 class didn't really have a good understanding of the meta language for spelling, having come through the school with a focus on phonics, but without really understanding the spelling patterns and how to a good understanding of syllables, those kinds of things. So we decided as a group to slow the process down and try to develop in the children a good understanding of the meta language, for them to know why a word is spelt the way it's spelt, why a syllable juncture is where it is, those kinds of things, to help them in their own writing when they do come across words that they're not sure how to spell, to give them a really good chance at being able to spell it properly rather than just having a guess. I find the word study approach to spelling is really valuable. I think the children really enjoy having that ownership of their spelling in a way. Like with the year 5s and 3s last year, I know that giving them the word sorts and having them look at the words, read through them, having them then come up with generalisations that they had discovered on their own, that sense that they were making something up themselves, like a valuable contribution, I guess, to their own learning. And then them finding in their own reading books, I found one of those 2-syllable words that we were talking about, the ones with the open syllable, the long vowel sound at the end. I think the children really enjoy the spelling then, rather than it just being lists of words and spelling it and writing them down 5 times, those kinds of things. It helps them, I think, to have a deeper understanding of spelling.
It is really important to use like a rich text that the children are engaged in and that they're familiar with, and then you have the ability to, within your spelling program, if you have a focus that you're doing, if there's a rule or a sound, you can then find words within that text that highlight that focus, and the children can use them for their spelling words. So your text is your starting point. It's something that the kids are familiar with, they're comfortable with. You take out those words, you use them, match them to other ones, and build on their knowledge from that. Some children, when you read that rich text to them, they can understand it. They should be exposed to the rule that you're sharing with the rest of the class, or the focus. They can see those words. They may not be able to spell them. They may not be at that stage. So as a teacher, you then look within that text, that same text, and you can choose that. It might even be taking it way back to just, what are some sight words from this text? They may be at that level. But you can still find words within the text that are meaningful just Reading to Learn child. Is being used throughout the school. At the moment it's being used very strongly through 4 to 7. Being able to marry the two really closely together, they actually work perfectly together, and it's made more sense to me that yes, you don't need to find 20 words from this text. You might only find 2 or 3, you might find 10, but you can find something, working from something that the children are familiar with, and then taking it from there and building on and finding words from the list and Word Their Way and the word sorts. It really made a lot more sense to me, and it does actually work.
At our school, we really value collaborative planning, and releasing teachers to come together in grade levels is something that we really see as important. That opportunity for professional conversations around implementing the new Australian curriculum has been a really important way of becoming familiar with the curriculum, but also becoming more competent in implementing it. I think the word study approach that we've taken and adopted at our school has certainly had a huge effect on the planning as well, in that teachers are now looking at the explicit teaching of spelling generalisations rather than giving children a disconnected list of words that some will pick up but some will have absolutely no connection with. So really looking at the vocab coming from a context, either from the text that they're currently working on as part of their English program, or perhaps a text that they're reading within the classroom, and using vocab from that context has made a huge difference to the planning process.